Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Rickcast on the Road. I hope everybody can hear me. All right, being in a hotel room, you don't want to be screaming out loud, but I'm pretty sure my audio is here on my mobile setup on this wonderful April 14th, 2025. I hope everybody's having a good week, beginning of the week as we push towards Easter. That we're noting that in our YouTube chat. Hello to everybody on Getter. Hello to everybody on Rumble. I apologize. I'm not going to be able to monitor these other sites as well as I usually can, simply because I only have one screen and only so many places to look. But I'm here, and we are going to have a good show. And if you like, perfect. Thank you, Brian. So my little USB mic works pretty good. So I'm glad. I'm happy about that. That is very good to hear. So let's get to it. We have a bunch of stuff today, and then I have a focus that I want to go on, and that is, we're not even into the summer of love, but we are having more and more indicators that it is going to be a pretty hot summer as far as what's going to take place, as far as unrest. And I want to pick out three more examples to show people that, listen, Trump is in office, and we're happy that Trump is in office, but there are things that he's not doing completely 100% above board, if you want to call that. And there is the fact that there is a lot of unrest out there. There's a lot of unrest that is going to result in some disastrous clashes, I think, and we're going to get into that. So I also have a couple of hot takes and a couple of things to open up with before we get there. But make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and hit the notification bell. Help the show continue to grow. We're happy that you guys are here with us. I don't know who us is. It's just me. But I'm happy that you guys are here with me on this Monday night. All right, so let's see here. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get these hot takes out of the way. I want to make sure that I cover all of them. So let's bring them up. First one um, is going to be about the immigration issue and the relationship that Trump has with the president of El Salvador, and how he is starting to take stage here in these United States in regards to, I don't know who this Rachel Maddow stunt double is, so we got to get out of here. But from NBC News, the El Salvador president says he will not return mistakenly deported man to these United States. So El Salvador's president, Burkle, told reporters during a meeting with President Donald Trump this Monday that he would not return a man the Justice Department said had mistakenly been deported to his country. Quote, how can I return him to the United States? Like, if I smuggle him into the United States, he said, sitting behind Trump, besides Trump at the Oval Office, when asked if he'd return him. Of course, I'm not going to do it. The question is preposterous. Asked if he'd be released in his own country, he said, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists. And this is the thing that a lot of people are okay with, are not okay with, whatever the case may be. And the fact of the matter is, when you are doing business, I mean, the president of El Salvador is doing this at the behest of Trump. He's doing this at the behest of Trump to help with the illegal migrant population. And, once somebody gets into another country, you can't really order, no matter what the judge thinks they are here, these judges have no impact on another country, which is, I think, one of the reasons why Trump was so eager to start deporting them outside of these United States. Sorry, I've had a long day, so I'm fighting some yawns here. It's not because I'm bored with you guys. It's just driving and all that stuff, so I apologize. Trump also said he wants Burkle to take as many criminals, quote unquote, as possible. So this immigrant Garcia has never been charged criminally in the U.S. or El Salvador, according to court filings. Justice Department officials have acknowledged that Garcia should have not have been sent to El Salvador because of an immigration judge's 2019 order barring him from being sent there. And the Supreme Court has called for his removal being illegal and directed the administration to facilitate his return while being respectful of the president's authority. In the Oval Office meeting, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he didn't understand the quote unquote confusion over the order, arguing the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court, and no court in these United States has the right to conduct foreign policy. Now, that's, of course, a big thing that's going on right now between, uh, you know, the fact that is he illegal, is he not illegal, and the fact is in these nets that get caught up, if these people weren't let into the country to begin with, then how can we say that they are or are not? So he was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador. White House advisor Stephen Miller said, pushing back at the Justice Department's repeated assertion. This was the right person sent to the right place. The United States acknowledges that Garcia was the subject to withholding orders forbidding his removal to El Salvador, and that removal to El Salvador is therefore illegal. High Court said, whatever the case may be. So this is just a problem, you could say, when there is a demand by the citizens, the people that voted for Trump, both in the Electoral College and the popular vote, even though the popular vote doesn't mean much, to fix the immigration system. And unfortunately, when you fix the immigration system, sometimes some eggs are going to get broken. And once he's outside the country, there's really not much that you can do except say, hey, we'd like him back. And if the Justice Department is saying, listen, he was sent there for a reason, then I don't know if you're going to really see a facilitation to bring him back. But it's interesting how, you bring in the president of another country, you cite the $6 million deal that was struck to put to house illegal immigrants and terrorists and all these other things. To do this is one of the benefits Trump has. Once they leave the country, hey man, it's not up to me anymore. It's up to the president of El Salvador. And, we'll figure out a way around it and move on from that. So it's interesting to see that this may be a benefit to the Trump administration, especially when you have lower courts that are trying to act in the behest of the president. So yeah, Crotchety, you're right. He's really not deporting many people anyway, which is why, if you've noticed, they're starting to make this move towards self-deportation. They're really trying to convince people to self-deport because they're not going to be able to deport. I mean, if they get 1 million in 4 years, that might be a bonus. But outside of that, it is what it is. All right, let's get to our next story of the day. Still talking about some of these things. Now, hey, Lou, how you doing? I hope everything's going well for you tonight. Thank you for joining us here on Rickcast. Great to see you as always. This one, I'm neutral on the first story. Whatever, immigration, terrorism, we're all in trouble anyway because of the Patriot Act. And my fellow Catholics, we understand being labeled a terrorist because if you attended certain masses, you were labeled a terrorist by the Biden administration. So anybody who would be like, well, what if he was white? Well, guess what? The Biden administration was literally infiltrating the Latin masses and calling devout Catholics extremists. So your argument's stupid. And if Biden had the chance to deport him, I guarantee you he would have. And also there's the matter of keeping anybody that wants to talk about due process, your magical J6, those people were never given due process. They were put in solitary confinement for 4 years. So don't claim you like due process now when you didn't give a crap about it for 4 years. Okay? Intellectual consistency, please. Bad Trump. Let's call him as we see him. Bad Trump here. Absolutely bad Trump. right? Smack him on the head. This is no good. Take the boom. And so Trump calls for deporting some citizens to El Salvador, testing U.S. law. If you're a U.S. citizen, and I know um, I may sound hypocritical, but if you're a U.S. citizen, you can't be sent there. You can't be sent there. It's that simple. President Donald Trump said Monday that he wants to deport some violent criminals who are in the U.S. to Salvadorian prisons, a move that experts said would violate U.S. law. You want to send them to Guantanamo Bay? That's fine. You want to send them to Supermax prison out in Colorado? That's fine if they go through the court case. But the fact of the matter is, you can't send them to another country. You just can't. They're U.S. citizens. It is what it is. I know you can try to call me a hypocrite from the previous story. Maybe that does make me a hypocrite. But the problem I was trying to say with that last story is, regardless of his status, once you go to another country, you're at the behest of that president. That's really what I was trying to get at. And that was one of those things that Trump was trying to do, probably by striking that deal with the El Salvadorian president, is once they get in the air and once they get into El Salvador, he's like, I can't do anything. Sorry. And they're gone. And I don't want to see that for U.S. citizens. If that guy who was sent before, if he's a U.S. citizen, then the Trump administration needs to do whatever it can to get him back. That's just something that you cannot stand for that. That's something that should not be allowed. And even your fiercest MAGA advocate, we can't start, we can't be like our political opponents. Our political opponents don't care about due process. Our political opponents don't care about individual rights and individual freedoms and things that are supposedly guaranteed by the Constitution. We cannot start being them because our team has the football, right? People do it, and that's why I call out liberals and conservatives on any time, anywhere, any topic. And they need to be called out. If you're cheering this on as a MAGA guy, you need to quote unquote, check yourself. This is a terrible, terrible move. So Trump's comments mark the clearest signal yet that the U.S. president is serious about deporting naturalized and U.S.-born citizens, a proposal that has alarmed civil rights advocates and is viewed by many legal scholars as unconstitutional. I mean, it's not great. It's not a great look to do that. So Trump said that he would only go through with the idea if his administration determined that it was legal. It's not yet clear what level of due process an American will receive before being deported to a country Washington has previously accused of serious human rights abuses. I'd like to see which administration was accusing him of that, because one man's trash is another man's treasure in that regard. Quote, we've always had to obey laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies in the back of the head with baseball bats when they're not looking. They're absolute monsters. Yeah, we have supermax prisons for that, right? If you guys, I'm not opposed to putting these people in the worst possible conditions, right? If they're violent criminals, let's build a supermax prison in Alaska, in the middle of Alaska, where they don't have roads and the only way in is by plane, and let's put them there, right? Let's put them in the middle of Alaska. At least they're on U.S. soil. But the whole deporting them to a different country thing, I'm not down with, because, and that's even, I don't know, let me know in the comment section if you think, hey, they went through a court case, they went through the trial, and that can be open to it after due process, as long as their Fifth Amendment right. Fifth Amendment was part, Fifth and Sixth, speed trial, and then Eighth. See, I don't know, is it the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment? I don't know if sending them to a Salvadorian prison would qualify as like a violation of cruel and unusual punishment, because it's not a sample, or it's not something that every U.S. citizen gets. But then again, not every U.S. citizen, I'm trying to look at this both ways, not every U.S. citizen gets the death penalty if it fits the crime. I'm still trying to tell you, this is not a good look by Trump. Even if it's supposedly, quote unquote, constitutional, I don't like it. It's a bad look. Why play around with the optics like this? If you're going to try and do this, don't even put this out there, simply because it just gives your enemies ammunition, right? Well, what if it's constitutional? we don't have a consensus anymore on what is constitutional and what is or what isn't constitutional. We don't have a consensus on that anymore. So what does that even mean? Do your constitutional lawyers or scholars say it is, but then the next administrations are going to say it's not? It's not like we have consistent intellectual thought among that, right? We don't have it because, first of all, leftists have poisoned academic institutions. So you're not getting historians that are trained in actually looking at my best historian, because I have a degree in history. Sorry to brag, but the best history professor I had was one that said, "Listen, a good historian will tell you they're biased. A good historian will tell you they're biased up front, so that way." And I've said this before on this program. When they're giving out the information, you're like, "All right, well, this person comes from this perspective." Nowadays, you have quote unquote experts from institutions that are completely and wildly biased. I mean, look at the SCOTUS. Look at the 3 liberal justices versus the 5 conservative justices. Or 6. I don't even know how many. No, it's 5-4. I don't even care. You know what I'm saying? The liberal justices versus the conservative justices. They're taught interpretations, different interpretations of the law. And that's basically because of it. So it's really not good that we don't have consistent intellectual thought. So when Biden's DOJ or Obama's DOJ or President BBL's DOJ is going to be different than George W. Bush's DOJ or President Trump's DOJ or JD Vance's DOJ or whatever the case may be, because historians and lawyers too. Lawyers don't teach law anymore. Lawyers teach precedent. You go to law school to learn precedent. You actually don't learn the law. You learn how to argue precedents in cases. And you see a lot of law schools. There aren't any conservative law schools. They're all pretty much, when you go to a law school, you're going to be getting a liberal tainted lawyer. And there's, history and law, you shouldn't have on either side. You shouldn't have conservative professors or liberal professors. You should have, hey, this professor is great at teaching the Civil War, and this professor is great on teaching constitutional law. And they should give you the basics for you to think for yourself, but they don't do that anymore. So now we have people who come out and they're just regurgitating what their professor said because they just want to pass because they paid $500,000 for a stupid degree that they can't even use. But just to show people, I'm not a MAGA apologist. This is bad Trump. This is absolutely bad Trump, and I don't think it's a good look by him, and I don't like it. And if you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section. But I don't, if they're a U.S. citizen, and yes, that retroactively kind of goes to the previous story, and so. The previous story is not really about whether he got the punishment to go to El Salvador. The previous story was about, hey, he's there. What are you going to do? It's up to the El Salvadorian president. Now we're talking about the fact that, hey, no U.S. citizen should be sent to a foreign country for punishment. Now, if you want to put him in a supermax prison, that's fine. You want to build a supermax prison in Alaska? That's fine. I don't care. You want to build a supermax prison wherever in the U.S. and put them there, put them there. I don't care if they committed the crime and a jury convicts them. They've had their due process. But to start threatening like, oh, well, we're going to put them all in El Salvador. Let's stop also relying on El Salvador to fix our problems or to take our trash. Yeah, it's fine with this, that, and the other thing. But I don't like this over-reliance on El Salvador. I think it's kind of a bad look. All right, this is Rick Cast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm whispering. I'm in a hotel room in beautiful Midland, Texas at I love Hampton Inns. I told you I'm a Hampton Inn guy. Do I have any Hampton Inn merch that I can show you? I'm not sure my card. Oh yeah, no, I can't because I'm using the cup as a stand. I'll show it to you tomorrow. My beautiful Hampton Inn merchandise. That shows that I am indeed a Hampton Inn fan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the next story here. A little not serious before we actually get into our serious topic here. Katy Perry, Gayle King, and others reflect on their brief but historic trip into space. Even though they went into space, they didn't fly the plane, they didn't fly the rocket. They didn't really go. They kind of like went into the tip of the atmosphere and then fell back down. This is a publicity stunt for Blue Origin. That's all this is. Um, that's all. That's all this is, and it's a publicity stunt for Jeff Bezos. That's really it. That's it. Anyway, after returning from a brief trip to space, Katy Perry says she'll definitely be writing a song about her experience. Wow, because we all know how deep Katy Perry songs are. Perry was one of the 6 all-female crew that launched and landed safely on Monday morning aboard a rocket operated. See, they launched and landed. So the way they wrote that, it makes it sound like they launched and they landed. But no, it was operated by Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin company. Other big names include Gayle King, which I don't know. Gayle King's only accomplishment is that she's Oprah's friend. That's it. Like, she has no journalistic skill. And I'm not trying to be mean, but if you ever really objectively tried to listen to her tell a story, her cadence is terrible. She sounds like she's lost half the time. And what the hell do you have any right talking to me about stories for? You have no journalistic integrity. Except for the fact that Oprah you and your relationship with Oprah. And Jeff Bezos' fiance, Lauren Sanchez. Right? The joke was, once these ladies go into space, are they going to be able to find their way back down? But apparently they were. The star-studded crew flew on Blue Origin's New Shepard launch vehicle, which since 2021 has ferried dozens of scientists, entrepreneurs, and celebrities above the Karman line, the internationally recognized boundary of space, about 62 miles above the Earth's surface. So they just went wee and down, and they went into space. They're gonna act like they actually did something. It's the same thing like when you see the planes that go up and down and they're in G, they go into 0G. That's kind of like, oh look, we did G. Yeah, whatever. The Monday's mission, get out of here. NS-31 has garnered considerable attention because of its famous passengers and quote-unquote historic nature. It was the first all-female space flight since 1963 when Soviet-era cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkakov, the first woman in space, orbited the Earth during a nearly 3-day solo flight. Blue Origin's flight was significantly shorter, lasting 10 minutes and 21 seconds. It took off from Blue Origin's launch site 1 in West Texas at 9:30 a.m. Apparently, by the way, speaking of Midland, Texas, when they actually start doing commercial flights into space, they're actually going to do it from Midland. They've actually renamed the Midland Space. It's like the Midland Air and Space Airport or whatever the case may be, which is kind of funny. Anyway, but yeah, somewhere in West Texas. West Texas extends from Midland, Odessa, all the way to El Paso, so it could have been anywhere. Hundreds of thousands of people tuned into Blue Origin's online live stream to watch the journey from launch to landing as passengers' loved ones, many of them celebrities, blah, 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 watched in person. The crew spent several minutes in zero gravity and total amazement as captured by audio, yada, yada, yada. I mean, great flight crew. I mean, good for them. If you want to go up into space, and that's great, and congratulations. I'm glad you have your privilege to do so. Yeah, this is nothing more than an ego experiment for wealthy individuals. You have the ability to do so. That's great. I'm happy that you can. But don't talk to me like you've done something significant with your life. You've literally sat on a rocket while it was flown up and down for you. I don't know. You sound jealous. No, let's kind of tamper down on the historic natures of things. Both Perry and King knelt down to touch the ground with their own hands. Whose hands would they use? It's oddly quiet when you get up there. Yeah, it's called Space King, Gayle King. This is the deep thinker that is Gayle King. It's quiet. Yeah, that's why there's the phrase in space, no one can hear you scream, because there's no oxygen. It's really quiet. You look down on the planet and think, that's where we came from. To me, it's a reminder of how we need to be better, to do better, to be better. Gayle King, Shut the blank up. You are a person of privilege. How many people get to go fly in a rocket? What the hell do you mean do better? You literally are an example of how this union of states gives pretty much anybody access to do whatever the hell they want if they have enough money and if they have enough privilege. And so don't give me any of this crap. We have to do better. Well, you know what? The first thing we need to do is stop giving people like you any credence. Um, and King also revealed that Perry, who had hinted she might sing on board, if Katy Perry started singing on board the rocket, I'd take my chances in space. Um, she started singing "What a Wonderful World." Anyway, I don't care about any of this. We're covering it because it's a story and it's very interesting and it's quote unquote historic, but it's nothing. It didn't advance technology. A woman didn't fly it, right? She didn't pilot it. They didn't do anything. It was just a bunch of celebrities to gin up interest for Jeff Bezos and to probably get his girlfriend off his back. She's like, "Where am I going into space?" Like, "Fine, I'll shoot you up into space tomorrow. Don't worry about it." And then he, just sent them up, and now they're back, so they can pretend like they're astronauts. It's all pretend. What's the famous phrase? They're LARPing. That's all this is. They're just LARPing. Katy Perry, if I'm in a space capsule and Katy Perry starts singing "What It's a Wonderful World," I'm gonna be like the predator. I'm gonna be like the alien and just get out the escape hatch. I'll just freeze in space. I would much prefer that to listening to her sing. It's 100% peak privilege. It is 100% peak. You're right. Yeah. Of course, the joke was, well, maybe she doesn't have to come back down. But yeah, he's raising the right. Yeah, there is also the question about how Jeff Bezos shapes his rockets. They look a lot like Dr. Evil's rocket in the Austin Powers movies. Hey, when you have that much money, you can shape it however you want. So good for you, buddy. Anyway, this is Rick Castle. Now I'm going to talk about this. We're going to finish out the show talking about my thesis about violence of the left and how this summer is going to be a pretty feisty summer, and how this summer is going to be dominated by leftist violence that we're already starting to see in things like the attacking of Tesla dealerships, like we're starting to see with the violence from leftist organizations, and really the resentment that we're seeing, and how the resentment of Generation Z and Generation Alpha is going to be taken advantage of to push this onward violent rhetoric that we know. I'm too tired to fight tonight, Michael. I'm too driving wears me out. I don't know how truckers do it. I know how you do it, but all credit to truckers, man. I couldn't drive for a living. Uh, yeah, it just driving wears me out now. So I ain't fighting with nobody. I'm just gonna make my case. But we had four, like I said, excuse me. And so I'm in Midland. I am in Midland, Texas right now. Beautiful Midland, Texas, which is a joke because it's not. Because I'm here for my day job. They have something that we have to like go on site. I work from home most of the time. I have to be on site for 2 days, so that's why I'm here. But so I'm going to show you these four examples of leftists. But yeah, believe me. So this was in today. These are all from either today or this weekend. James Wagner, 40, charged federally for arson attack at a Tesla, Republican Party of New Mexico, and the Republican Party of New Mexico headquarters. So not only Tesla dealerships, now we have attacks on the Republican Party of New Mexico headquarters. Pretty sure this guy's not a dyed-in-the-wool Republican, right? As you can see, and then you see these things as well, these attacks, that was over the weekend. Then we have this story from usatoday.com talking about Cody Balmer. Who's Cody Balmer? Cody Allen Balmer attacked Josh Shapiro's home and burned a significant amount of it. And so he set it on fire while Josh Shapiro and his family was in the building. And fortunately, nobody was hurt. But the fact is, if you can see, I don't know if we're gonna get much out of this. This is just some video. Come on, give me a second. As you can tell, hotel Wi-Fi is also not great. I'll talk while we have to go through these ads. So you have Cody Balmer, who has attacked the Jewish Democratic governor of Pennsylvania. Take that for however you will. I'm just noticing it. Here you can see the actual damage that was caused. This wasn't just like somebody lighting some bushes on fire or anything like that. This is actual arson. This is an actual attack that threatened the lives of Governor Shapiro and his family. Now, some people will say, "Oh man, this was this was set up. This is something that's interesting because you had the other attack that was happening here and all these other things, and this is a psyop." I don't believe that. I think this is in response to a fervor of people who are struggling. This guy Balmer apparently had his house repossessed because he couldn't pay the property taxes. And so, I mean, you should pay property taxes, theft, but you don't go burn somebody's place down because of that. But the fact is, people are struggling, and the last administration didn't do anything to help them. People are not very happy, or they're not seeing the instantaneous results that they thought they would see under Trump. Yeah, gas is cheaper, so eggs are cheaper, but the tariff thing is being stoked for more division and more hatred. So a lot of people are getting upset about that. So you had this take place. Then, April 12th, Wisconsin teen allegedly killed parents in an extremist plot to assassinate Trump, according to the FBI. Wisconsin teen allegedly killed his parents to obtain financial means and autonomy necessary to kill President Donald Trump and overthrow the U.S. government, federal authorities said in court. Nikita Casap, 17, was arrested in March and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of hiding corpses, according to the Waukesha, which is what I'm going to say. I know Waukesha County authorities. Other charges included theft of property of over $10,000 and misappropriating ID to obtain money. So you have these 2 events where totally different sides of the aisle, one Democrat, one Republican, young men, right? He's 17. The other guy wasn't that much older, I believe. Cody Balmer, he's 38. Still, he's part of a generation of people that feel left behind, right? Millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they feel like boomers have, and of course, Gen X just doesn't say anything, but you have a generation, the boomer generation that's essentially hoarding their wealth. They're hoarding their wealth, and they're not giving anybody underneath them access to the opportunities to acquire generational wealth, to be able to take care of themselves and their families. So people are frustrated. People are angry. People are not reacting well to the continued hardships. And I mean, we're still dealing with the consequences of COVID. We're still dealing with the consequences of COVID and the devastation to all the industries that took place because of that. But we're seeing this. We're seeing these 2 events. Coachella was this weekend, I believe. It's one of these hippy-dippy music festivals, I think, in California. And there was a lot of resentment in the air there as well towards the rich, the wealthy, whatever the case may be. A lot of socialist propaganda being pushed out there as well. Of course, Bernie Sanders spoke at it, which was ironic. And then, finally, this weekend, the one and only Taylor Lorenz proves why she needs to be heard and not silenced by calling Luigi Mangione morally good. And you can hear it here. This was her gushing on CNN. Sorry, my streaming is not very good in the hotels. See if you actually work. Gonna work? Maybe.
Pundits on TV clutching their pearls about someone standing a murderer when this is the United States of America, as if we don't lionize criminals. Murderers of all sorts, and we give them Netflix shows. There's a huge disconnect between the narratives and angles that sort of mainstream media pushes and what the American public feels. And you see that in moments like this. And I can tell you, I saw the biggest audience growth that I've ever seen, because people were like, oh, some journalist is actually speaking to the anger that we feel.
Journalists.
The women who got her outside court in New York.
So you're going to see women, especially, that feel like, oh my God, right? Like, here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems like this morally good man. Which
that's a major. I mean, as much as we make fun of Taylor Lorenz, she's just voicing an opinion that's very popular. And say what you want about the medical industry, I feel that, and we've talked about it on this program. We've talked about it at length on this program. Any anger you have towards the medical industrial complex needs to be directed at the government first. But people don't want to look at it that way. They want solutions. They want somebody to stand up to the supposed injustice that is being perpetrated by the medical industrial complex. Yeah, the comments that came out after they said this is like, you know, if Taylor Lorenz never had a boyfriend, you can see she's writing in her journal Taylor Mangione, right, and doing little hearts around it. The fact that we are pushing towards a place where we are lionizing and supporting the open murder of people, that's the scary part. I honestly don't even talk about the medical stuff, because people don't realize that if you sanction this, and a lot of people are, and people I respect are, and I have to kind of bide my tongue and try to be as gentle as I can with them. Once you sanction this, it's open season on anybody. That's your problem. Yes, the health industry sucks. I get it. But when you say it's okay that we did it with this guy because medical industry bad, guys, what stops you from going after any other industry that you as a person feel slighted by, that you feel you have been harmed by? And that's the issue. And Michael, you're hitting it right on the head. I'm not really saying it as well as I want to. People are angry. People are angry, and they are in a place where they just want to lash out. The political solutions, I think we have to say, are over. You know, they're really not going anywhere that a majority of people are going to be satisfied with. Contrast that with the political division that we are seeing here. It's really going to be a nasty, nasty summer. It's going to be. I don't know what Trump's going to do with it. Is he going to enact martial law, whatever the fact may be? Is he going to let it happen like last time? Is he going to push back? It's going to be some hard times. You're right. You are 100% right, Sebastian. It's going to be some hard times. It's going to be really, really bad. And I'm not trying to stoke fear. I'm saying be prepared. You need to get prepared for this kind of stuff. Obviously, my fellow Catholics, you want to stay in a state of grace as much as possible. If you're not into emergency food, you may want to start stocking up on emergency food, emergency water, things like that. Obviously, if you are somewhere in a place that will allow you the God-given right to keep and bear arms, and you don't have that, I would suggest going out I wouldn't buy a pistol. I would probably buy either an AR-15 or a shotgun. And just stock up on ammo as much as you can right now, because when society breaks down, you will be by yourself. And people don't realize. People remember in 2020 how fast guns and ammo just disappeared at the slightest hint of unrest. Right now, people aren't really paying attention. So if you don't have some means to defend yourself, go out and acquire as many boxes as you can to stack it. I don't care if it's a 12 gauge or it's an AR-15 or even a PCC, which is a pistol caliber carbine, something that you can defend your property and your family with. So, yeah, I'd be more than happy to do something like that, Sebastian. If there's enough people, I'd be more than happy to take a day and talk to y'all about it, and get people on the right path. Because, and ironically enough, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I actually have a book I'm writing right now, my second book, The Prepped Catholic, The Catholic Case for Prepping, which will probably come out too late. I'm aiming to release it in the fall, but there's an issue here, that people are not reliant on their own. They're too reliant on the government, whether it's for safety, for food, for whatever the case may be. And we're not a society that's built for that. We realize that only when it's too late. And it's really, it is what it is. And so, no, I mean, the fact of the matter is, there's at minimum 2 million defensive gun uses in these United States per year. And a lot of times when we talk about defensive gun use, we're not talking about the weapon being actually discharged. We just have somebody presenting a weapon, or just the knowledge that a weapon is present deters crime. And people don't want to talk about that. But the fact of the matter is, it's true. People who are vulnerable are the ones that are taken advantage of. And all you're doing by exercising, if you're in a state that allows you to do it, if you're exercising your God-given right to keep and bear arms, all you're doing is using it as a deterrent to keep you and your family safe. So the point of this segment, the point of me talking about this, is that right now is the time, if you have the ability to stack what you can, as far as food, as far as silver or gold or lead, we'll call it, and other things, to be ready for what I am really afraid of is going to be a really bad summer. I think it's going to be a really, and it's not going to be one thing. A lot of people are trying to say, well, the Carmelo Anthony case is going to be the thing that pops it off. I think it's going to be asymmetrical. I think it's going to be different things in different parts of the country. In the Northeast, it'll probably be Mangione. Here in Texas, they'll probably try to use Carmelo Anthony. On the West Coast, they'll continue to talk about Elon and Musk and all these other kinds of things. So I don't think it's going to be one thing this time. And the reason people don't understand is that the reason we were able to have mass riots across these United States in 2020 with BLM is because you were able to centralize these because of COVID, because people were in their houses. It's going to be a lot harder with people moving around and people not being forced into one protest, right? The only protests that was allowed were the Black Lives Matter protests. So it was an easy way to centralize the movement of these people. We're not going to have that this time. So it's going to be more asymmetrical. Like I said, we're just going to keep pointing these out because people like Taylor Lorenz, they're going to get louder. They're going to get louder in their support for the destruction of the current system. And Gen Z and Gen Alpha and all those who are struggling, even this guy, Cody Balmer, he's 38. He's a couple years younger than I am. He's a millennial. He lost his house. So his reaction was to, attack the governor of Pennsylvania. Okay. Violence we've reached the point where violence is an acceptable form of of protest, and that's not a place you ever want to be. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of Rickcast here from the beautiful Hampton Inn in Midland, Texas. I will talk to you guys tomorrow night. Quick update for the week. I'm going to be streaming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm taking Holy Thursday and Good Friday. I'm not streaming. Sorry. I claim to be a Catholic, so I'm going to act like one, and I'm not going to stream on the holiest weekend or the holiest part of our year. Thursday. A lot of people in America, we don't even realize how important Holy Thursday is. Holy Thursday is the institution of the priesthood. It's the institution of the Eucharist. It's the Last Supper. Then Good Friday, obviously Saturday. So I'll be live with you guys the following Monday. So I'm going to stream till Wednesday, and then I won't talk to you guys until the following Monday. Although I will say this: keep your eyes peeled to your favorite quote-unquote Catholic podcasters or your Catholic live streamers. See who streams on Thursday, because Thursday is a very profitable night. It's the most streamed night of the week, right? Must-see TV. See which one of your hardcore Catholics who want to lecture you. Now, Thursday day, I'm okay with. Like, somebody be like, what about my church? My church streams at 11 in the morning. I don't have a problem with that, right? I'm talking about like once evening comes and you have the evening mass and all that kind of stuff. That's when I think people need to shut it down. Watch to see which one of your favorite Catholic guys are going to be streaming on that Thursday night. All I'm saying is just keep in mind of those things. But for me, Wednesday will be the last night, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. But all right, guys, I'm just rambling at this point. All right, I will talk to you tomorrow night. Just stay tuned because I don't know what's going on with these the meetings or the conference on that. We might go later than 5, like 5:30. So I may go on at like 6:15, 6:30. So just stay tuned. If I'm not on directly at 6, I will be on. So just stay tuned, and that's why you want to hit the notification bell so it'll let you know when I go live. But I will be going live tomorrow night. Just not really sure on the time. All right, folks, I will talk to you all tomorrow. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.